Genesis might be a relatively new brand to the UK, but it's quickly hot-footing it into becoming one of the most respected companies out there when it comes to electric vehicles. Now, of course, it is backed by both Kia and Hyundai, so it certainly has the learnings of those larger South Korean groups to lean upon, and all of that is coming through in this car. It's the GV60. It's a car which uses all of that technological know-how and combines it with what we've learned to be quite a premium attitude to car building, which lies throughout the Genesis range. However, with a variety of motor options and a very cool interior, I think it has got some tools that it could use in order to come out on top. So in today's video, we're going to be finding out what this innovative EV has to offer in terms of in-car technology, and also the type of range and performance it can deliver, to see whether or not this is an electric vehicle that's worth considering or possibly choosing over a regular petrol or diesel model. So let's find out just what the GV60 has to offer. The Genesis GV60 is a car which is packed with cool features. I particularly like these split style headlights, which have become a Genesis hallmark, and I like these intricate alloy wheels too. If you have a look at the charging port, then it opens electrically too via a press of the button, and I think that's particularly useful when you just want to pop it open and get charging nice and quickly. The GV60 brings a really nice combination of upmarket materials, but with ergonomics which are very sound. It all starts off with some clever theatrics. I can start it up and this little dial here spins around, and I know that's been very talked about, but you put anyone new to the GV60 in this car and they go, wow, a spinning dial, and that makes everything better. But above and beyond that, we've got proper controls for the heating and ventilation with physical buttons. What a change, and nice shortcut keys to the media, the radio and the navigation. And then when you go to the main screen, it's all quite logically laid out. It's quite busy, there are a lot of features and functions to go through, but you've got the benefit of having both touchscreen and a rotary dial to move through it. Who would have thought that having physical controls would make using a touchscreen easier? I never know. But anyway, there are nice leather-clad materials up top, really pleasant steering wheel with physical buttons again, and then there's loads of space as well. This cubby down here is really useful for when you've plugged your phone in and you want to pop it down there, and then there's just loads of room and airiness. I also like the fact that these seats are both heated and cooled, and they've got a massage function as well. You must bear in mind that this is top level GV60, but even standard cars still get the same touchscreen and the same really clever use of physical buttons, which just make it far more user-friendly overall. Because the GV60 sits on a bespoke EV platform, it doesn't have to conform to the limitations of a setup that would have a petrol or a diesel engine, and that's why we've got a completely flat floor back here, and it means that sitting three abreast is going to be relatively comfortable. The only thing I will say is that because of the sloping roofline, it eats into headroom, but it's been given this concave design, so there's a little bit more space than you might think. Other good features are these seat back pockets, which are handy, and also I really like these armrest mounted cup holders, so you can put a bottle there and keep it secure without it sloshing about. The door bins at the side are quite small, and I guess that probably takes away from some of it, but we have got heated seats back here, dedicated outlets for the sound, and also two USB-C charging points. It all feels very upmarket in the back of the GV60, but it's backed up by plenty of space, which means that it's got those practicality boxes ticked off as well. Opening the boot of the GV60 gives you access to a 432 litre boot, which is actually pretty decent for the size and shape of this car. And though it is a little bit narrow, it's nice and square, so those bulkier items are pretty easy to put in. There is quite a high load lip, though the load lip itself isn't too accentuated. It's just quite a high boot sill in order to get those big items like heavy suitcase up and in. There is an underfloor storage section for the charging cables, but as I mentioned, that is a bit of a pain because when you want to use the charging cables, quite often you've got stuff in the boot, so you have to take all that out in order to get to the cables themselves. However, apart from that, it's a really nice usable space, and of course you can extend it by folding down those rear seats. The GV60 might be a car made by a brand which is relatively new to the UK, but the underpinnings to this vehicle are made by another company and used on another car which has had quite a lot of acclaim in the industry. It's the Kia EV6, and it shares most of its components with the GV60, so you could argue this has got some award-winning underpinnings to back it up. The one that we're in today is the Sport Plus model, and as the name suggests, it's the sportiest GV60 that you're able to get. It's got a dual motor setup with 483 brake horsepower and 700 Newton meters of torque. That's just remarkable. For a regular electric crossover-y thing that people can buy, I think that's just a stupendous amount of power. And in fact, with boost mode, and you know, any car that's got a boost button has got to be worth a little bit extra. You press that and you get an extra screen ahead of you, and it enables the maximum amount of power from the motors, and it'll do 0 to 60 miles an hour in 3.8 seconds. It's monstrously quick. You can give Golf Rs, Audi S3s, any of those TikTok and Instagram favourite hot hatches a good run for their money in the GV60, and it's all in a car which looks, well, relatively understated apart from the jazzy lights. But when you're driving in a more sedate manner, what's it like? Well, a bit like other electric vehicles, the GV60 is quite heavy, and in order to maintain that weight as a level across the car, it has been firmed up, and that means you're getting a constant patter underneath the wheels. You've got big alloys on this car too, but yeah, you can feel just the patter of those small bumps and vibrations coming through the wheels and into the car. That said, it is nice and quiet. We've not got too much wind noise, we haven't got too much road noise, so in that sense, you can deal with the lumps and bumps if it is quieter. And on the motorway, the GV60 is very pleasant to drive, actually. It's really quite hushed. There's not too much motor noise either, and Genesis hasn't thought to include any space-age noises to accompany the acceleration, and I think that's no bad thing at all. We've also got plenty of regen options, so the paddles behind the steering wheel control the amount of regeneration you get. There are 4 modes, and the 4th mode being almost one pedal driving, so I can let go off the throttle and it really does slow itself down. Tap it all the other way and it'll turn it off, and that's what you want when you're on the motorway, because you don't want it dragging, you want it coasting. That's when it's at its most efficient. Speaking of efficiency, you should get up to 289 miles from a single charge in the GV60, and because it can accept a 350 kilowatt charge, you can see a decent slug of range added in around 18 minutes if you get equipped to a 350 kilowatt charger, of which, let's be honest, there aren't too many in the UK, but if you plug into 150 kilowatt, you're going to get the max amount. What I do like in the GV60 is the weighted steering. It's not too heavy, but it just gives this whole sense of security to the way the car goes around a corner. And it does manage to keep itself nice and level throughout, even when you are cracking on a little bit. Of course, there's just so much performance to tap into as and when you need it, that you never feel like you are left floundering with not enough go. And to be honest with you, the Sport Plus model I feel is a step too far. There are regular versions of the GV60 which offer more range, slightly less performance, and they're the ones that I would go for. I think you don't need this much performance from your next electric vehicle unless you're desperate to have those top trumps figures, because after all, the more harshly you accelerate, the less far your range goes. So I'd rather just have a little less power and a bit more range, because range is always useful in an electric vehicle. I will also say that rearward visibility is not the best. There is no rear windscreen wiper, and because of that kind of split spoiler, it means that looking at the back of the car is quite tricky. You have to also make sure that you do keep it clean quite often, because when grime and dirt, and earlier in the winter when you get salt on it, it's actually quite hard to see out the back, and that's not useful. I've been really impressed by the GV60. What shines through for me is the ease of use that you get from inside the car. The physical buttons and controls that have been placed inside make this a very easy car to live with. But as a byproduct, you've also got a really nice driving experience which delivers both performance and efficiency while making everything feel robust and solid and sort of safe, really. I do think this Sport Plus model isn't the one to go for. Unless you want that outright performance, I'd much rather a little bit of extra range, and you'll get that from other GV60 models without the dual motor option. But if you do want performance that'll scare most supercars, then this Sport Plus one is an option to go for. Overall, in this very competitive segment, the GV60 stands out, not because of its crazy design, but because of how well-mannered it is both inside and out. And that's why it's an EV that I would very much recommend. Thank you for watching this Motors new car review on the Genesis GV60. Now, let us know if you have enjoyed this video by giving us a like below, and let us know in the comment section if this is an EV that you would choose, or is it a little bit out there for you? And if you subscribe to the Motors YouTube channel and hit that bell icon. You'll get a notification each time we upload a new video, just like this one.